This is the New York State Senate. Usually these seats would be full, but the COVID-19 pandemic has driven the state legislature to convene virtually since last spring. And this year is no different. Lawmakers kicked off this year's legislative session at the state capitol Wednesday in a building that would usually be full of energy.
Usually the chamber would be buzzing with activity, the hallways filled with smiling faces. This year, as you know, it's different.
Senate Majority Leader Andrea Stewart-Cousins entered the state Senate for the first time Wednesday with a new supermajority of Democrats. They now hold 43 seats. That's more than 2/3 of the chamber. And she said the economy will be a top priority for Democrats as the state grapples with a $15 billion budget deficit.
Our state's finances are in desperate shape, and we have a budget deficit to tackle.
Stewart-Cousins said Democrats would back higher taxes on the wealthy and the legalization of both marijuana and mobile sports betting as ways to help the state's finances. That would likely happen in the state budget, which is due at the start of April.
We need to get serious about making sure that everyone shares the burden. We need to make sure that more of the millionaires and billionaires who have gotten even richer step up during this pandemic.
Governor Andrew Cuomo, meanwhile, threw cold water on that idea this week, saying tax hikes on the rich wouldn't generate nearly enough revenue to fill the state's budget gap.
Highest rate, any millionaire, it only raises about $1.5, $1.6 billion. We have a $15 billion gap.
On the other side of the aisle, Senate Republican leader Rob Ortt said this week that Democrats should find areas to cut spending instead of creating new taxes.
We have a $170 billion budget. You'll never convince me that New York's primary problem is a revenue problem. It is a spending problem.
The state assembly didn't see as much action this week, instead opting for a few brief remarks to open this year's session. Assembly Speaker Carl Heastie was reelected to the top position in the chamber, which has been led by Democrats for decades.
Our accomplishments over the past year are true testament to our perseverance in getting work done on behalf of the people of New York.
Lawmakers are back in Albany Monday for Cuomo's State of the State address and the second week of what's expected to be a tumultuous legislative session.
And we will be taking Governor Cuomo's State of the State address live here on PBS Monday. Keep an eye out for that. In the meantime, let's break down the week with Anna Grunwald from Politico and Kate Lisa from Johnson Newspapers. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you. Thank you.
So session started this week. It was on Wednesday, the first day of session. It was not very eventful, I will say. Anna, were you in the building? I don't remember who was there. I was in the Capitol as well. What did you think of the first day of session? I was in the Senate. I didn't see what happened in the Assembly, but it was a lot of fanfare this week, as we just showed on the show.
I mean, typically the first day of session is, but you would see new members normally in a normal year, walk around the halls looking for the bathrooms, trying to figure out what was going on. And it's kind of like a first day of school vibe. We didn't get that at all. In fact, the halls were super empty. It was very quiet, and it was kind of a huge juxtaposition because we were all watching what was happening in Washington, which is obviously a night and day difference.
It feels like that happened 2 weeks ago, the chaos in Washington compared to session. Session was Wednesday, obviously. So, Kate, what do you think about what's going to happen this session? I mean, everything is kind of revolving around the budget deficit, but we have some other issues out there as well.
Absolutely. I think really that the biggest thing I anticipate, though, that I think the budget will be the focus probably first. The revenue raisers that people have been talking about, raising taxes. I know that the Assembly Speaker kind of hinted at that at the end of the year, and I think everyone's been kind of excited, or, well, not as excited to hear what that tax raise might be, but so I feel like that might be those conversations have to start sooner rather than later, right? So that's what I'm most looking forward to hearing about.
Right, we have 3 months, and so the budget is due at the end of March. The end of March is a flexible term sometimes. It's due at the end of March. Sometimes it comes the first week of April. Anna, what do you see as coming up in this year's session? Obviously, I think the budget is going to be the biggest thing this year, but what other key issues are you watching?
Well, I think, the governor has also indicated that this is tied into the budget, but that legalizing recreational marijuana might finally happen this year after multiple years of working on it and saying it was just too tricky to get done. Right now, that's something that could raise money in the long-term future, and that's so a little bit more of a push for that. And I think he also talked about sports betting, which will be another big issue that folks have been working on for a while. But like Kate said, I don't know that anything can actually be discussed without putting it in the context of the idea that there's not that much money to do very much.
Right, that's the thing, is these issues like marijuana and sports betting are going to the front of the line right now because of the huge deficit that we're in. And I should note that the Cuomo administration had thought that online sports betting was unconstitutional a few years ago, which is why they didn't side with it. And now that we need the money, now they found a way to make it happen.
There's always a way.
Exactly. And I want to stay with you because we had this discussion this week about the vaccine rollout in New York and how it's slow. And the vaccine rollout is controlled by the state. The federal government gives us the vaccine. The state kind of takes it from there. The governor had some views this week about why it's being rolled out so slow. What has he said?
Well, the governor is prioritizing healthcare workers, saying that that's the first line of defense, that those folks all need to be vaccinated first so they're not spreading to others. And I know counties, localities, New York City, and some of the county leaders across the state have said that not only do they have ways to distribute their vaccines that they've been issued more efficiently, but they also think that it should go to different types of more vulnerable populations like nursing homes or the very elderly. And so there's been a bit of a disagreement there, and so far we haven't seen the Cuomo administration indicate that they are looking to tweak the plan at all from getting the healthcare workers.
It's such a weird situation to be in because I feel like everybody's clamoring to everybody wants a vaccine. Not everybody, but a lot of people want vaccines. And it seems like we're going so slow. And then there are these hospitals that have a surplus of the vaccine. So I think a lot of people at home are wondering, well, if you have too many and you can't get them to people in this group, why aren't we moving on to the next group? So that's the question that I think that's on everybody's minds right now.
And I can't imagine the logistics of this. You know, you have to keep vaccines at certain temperatures. Like the way that this actually rolls out, the coordination, I'm sure, is far beyond anything we can imagine, but it seems like there's just not been as much communication among all parties as might make it go more efficiently.
Which is kind of like the MO of the Cuomo administration, I should say. That's kind of like what they like to do, is just take something and have total control and no coordination with anybody else, because I think that they think that they're best suited for it, which in some times they are. Kate, looking ahead to next week, speaking of the Cuomo administration, the State of the State is coming up on Monday. We don't really know what it's going to look like because the governor may give multiple speeches. He may have several proposals. What are you watching for?
Again, I think while we've all been waiting with bated breath for some more details from him, I know he said that he's waiting on the federal government when President-elect Joe Biden takes office January 20th to see what kind of federal aid the state will get. And so I guess we won't have that information for this, but maybe he'll hint, I'm sure, messages of hope and unity as we're going forward, because we are starting a new chapter here. And I also think that he will maybe start to talk about some things that he hinted at last spring with talking about like infrastructure and those big kind of projects to revitalize the economy, similar to how FDR did with the New Deal back in the Great Depression, because we could be looking at such a deep recession we could head, unfortunately, there. So I'm excited to see how he frames that.
Right. Economists say that usually the second year of an economic downturn is worse than the first year. So we've gone through the first year almost, so we're entering the second year.
We got to buckle up.
Yeah, we got to buckle up. It's going to be very tough on everybody. Unless, I don't know, some magic happens with math. I'm not a budget person. And a last word, what are you expecting to get from the State of the State this year? It's going to be very different. It's going to be virtual, we know. So there's not going to be quite as much fanfare. What are you looking for?
Well, yeah, like you said, there's always, it's normally a big who's who event, and people just pack into the Egg down here in Albany. And it's kind of, again, it's kind of this like first day of school thing where everyone's together trying to figure out what's going on. I think that there will, as Kate said, there'll probably be like a lot of issues that we have already seen before, but probably a good number of them, because there'll be a couple very contentious measures. I think a good number of them will be things that can bring people together. The environment, the infrastructure projects. I think that would make a lot of sense because we'll need something to all be happy about.
Exactly. I hope so. So we'll leave it there. Anna Grillbold from Politico, Kate Lisa from Johnson Newspapers. Thank you both so much.
Thank you.